The very first Killzone game had a multiplayer map called Beachhead. It proved to be popular, so in Killzone 2, they remade the map for its multiplayer and offered it as part of a DLC pack. Today, I'm going to compare the two versions of the map and show you what the differences were between them. In all, there have been a total of 7 multiplayer maps that were repeated within the Killzone franchise, and I have covered 6 of those so far in this map comparison series, including the one you're watching right now. The links to the other ones are in the description. For Beachhead, there are actually 3 versions of it, kind of. There's the original from Killzone 1 on the PS2, the Killzone 2 version was on the PS3, and then there was a 1-to-1 remaster of the Killzone 1 version that was available in both the PlayStation Store and on the Killzone Trilogy release on the PS3. It made modern adjustments to the graphics, the aspect ratio, the frame rate, and the controls. They didn't change the map, however, other than give it a fresh coat of paint. This remaster will be the one I'm contrasting with the Killzone 2 version. So here's what Beachhead looks like. We're going to start the comparison looking east toward the ocean. This is what it looks like in Killzone 1. We see a beach that has been barricaded, no doubt inspired by the invasion of Normandy. It looks to be a very rough sea out there. There's a pretty nice effect of the water kind of blowing in the wind. In Killzone 2, that beach looks a lot different. The waves aren't as big, but the wind is still blowing and there's now rain coming down. We also see a couple of landing craft that are on the shoreline, and we see Helghast markings on those landing craft. Out in the distance, we see some structures, possibly oil rigs or something like that. Flipping back to Killzone 1, there are no structures out there as far as we can see. And on the right side of the beach, we have this structure here. And when we go inside it, it's just a single room with some weapons and ammo to pick up. And there's windows on every side of it. In Killzone 2, there is a structure there as well. And from here, it looks like there's 3 levels to it. We'll enter the main entrance here, and we'll see that it's about the same size as the Killzone 1 version. There's fewer windows though. In the Killzone 1 version, when we come back out of that structure and look off to the side, we don't see much else. But in Killzone 2, there is a ladder there, and that leads up to the 3rd story. And this is where the snipers can hang out. There's also a stationary gun there for the people who are not playing as a sniper. I can see the 2nd level in there, but I've never been able to access it. From what I can see, there's no way to get into it. Here in Killzone 1, as we stand on the beach, we can see a much larger building on the other side. And then, just looking off in the distance, we don't see much of anything else. It just looks like sand dunes that are barren. We see that same big structure on the beach in Killzone 2, and we also see structures on top of the hills. So this setting is a little bit different than the Killzone 1 setting. This one takes place within a city. I'll speak more about that in a little bit. Here in Killzone 1, we'll take a walk toward that other structure, and we'll go through the tunnels and go all the way up to the top. Here in Killzone 2, we'll see a lot of things that are similar, but a lot of things that are different as well. For instance, the building is a lot larger and there's a lot more stuff on the inside of it. And instead of a ramp, we have steps that go all the way up to the top. By the way, this is one of the 2 base camps for the Helghast in Killzone 2, meaning that's where they can spawn when they die. We see here at the top, there is a section of stairs that we cannot get to. In Killzone 1, you cannot jump. It wasn't invented yet, but you can walk off the edge if there's nothing guarding the edge. So that's what we're going to do here. We're going to fall off the edge and just take a little bit of damage. In Killzone 2, we can make the same kind of drop and take a little bit of damage there too. They were very faithful to the original map when it comes to these kind of things. There's a high point and you cannot walk over it because it's too high. That kind of forms an alley. That's where we're going to go next. So here in Killzone 1, we're just going to walk through the alley. We see some vegetation on the beach, and we also see this platform that's off to the side of this alley. You can't interact with it. It looks like it might have a ladder, but it does not. That same alley is there in Killzone 2, but that platform is gone. Coming out of that alley in Killzone 1, we see some small hills and we see a large open area. And we'll go down and stand on top of this hill and take a look. And nearby is a shallow area full of water. In Killzone 2, that hill is still there, but it's surrounded by scaffolding and things like that. And here's a view from that hill. And that shallow area of water is still there as well. It looks like it's a little bit deeper. That large hill that I said you can't walk over, here's what it looks like from that water area. But in Killzone 2, they have added a pipe to it. It leads to a little room on the inside, which splits in two directions and lets you exit the hill. Now we're going to take a look at the ground, and you'll see that in Killzone 1, it appears to be sand, and you can kind of see how the wind has left ripples, and when I fire at it, the sand kind of pops up. You can also see some of the sand blowing in the wind there. In Killzone 2, the ground looks a lot different. It looks a lot harder, like it's almost volcanic rock or something. Now we're going to make a turn and head west along the southern border of the map. And as we walk, we're going to see uneven terrain, and we're going to see the vegetation, and we're going to see some destroyed buildings. In Killzone 2, that side area looks a lot different. There's a lot more things in the way. There's a lot of material laying around, and there's actually structures that have roofs in the way. And there's another pipe at the end of it. We'll move a little bit north. We'll take a look at the terrain some more, and we'll see that there's some small trenches, and for the most part, those trenches are still there in Killzone 2, though they do have some water accumulating in them. Now we're going to take a look at the big structure. There is an outer wall, and you see it right here, and I believe this is what the main entrance is supposed to be, but you can't go through there. You have to go through this hole that's been blasted through it. In Killzone 2, it's pretty much the same way, except you can walk through the main entrance and you can walk through the hole. And this is actually the ISA base camp. So right now I'm a Helghast soldier. If I walk through there, I'll get shot down by the base turrets. So I'm going to trade sides for the rest of the Killzone 2 comparison footage. I'm now within the walls in Killzone 1, and I'm looking off to the side and I see these three pillars. And within those three pillars is this tunnel, and I can take it all the way up to the top where I can snipe if I want, and I can get a good view of the inside of the base. In Killzone 2, those three pillars are no longer there. There is a door there that is sealed, though. There's no way to get through it. It seems like that's kind of a nod to us from who remember the Killzone 1 version of the map, saying to us, oh, there used to be something here, but now it's closed. But they do give us in Killzone 2 a ladder that leads to a ledge right in that same general area. And from there, I can snipe as well. Now we're back down on the ground, looking away from the pillars, and we see this ramp that leads up to this area with two doorways. And we can go in there, and we can basically circle through and go back out the other door. There's two doorways on the Killzone 2 version. However, when you go into them, it goes further back, and there's a lot more stuff in here. There's a little side room there. And we see what looks like a cargo container right there. And notice it has the Helghast symbol on it. This is a very important thing to point out about the Killzone 2 version. The boats on the other end of the map are Helghast, and the buildings off in the distance are Helghast buildings. So what I think has happened here is that the ISA have invaded this part of the city and have invaded and taken over this base. They took it from the Helghast, and the purpose of this battle is the Helghast trying to retake the base. So they stormed their own beaches and are trying to retake it. So it's safe to say that this whole map takes place on the planet Helgen, which makes sense because that's where you were in the campaign of Killzone 2. In Killzone 1, however, no part of the game takes place on Helgen. It all takes place on Vecta, and some of it takes place on a space station. But the bottom line is, it's safe to say that these two maps take place in two different places. One takes place on Vecta and one takes place on Helgen, even though a lot of the key features are the same. I'm sure there's some people who are uneasy about that, but I have no problem with it. I don't think a multiplayer map has to match exactly the storyline of what's going on or whatever. I think it's just there to provide a fun place where you and your friends can shoot the other team. But anyway, we'll move on. As we come out of that big room and head off to the right in Killzone 1, we see this recessed area that has a door that you cannot go through. But on Killzone 2, that recessed area is not there. But it looks again like they're teasing us a little bit because they do appear to have a door there. From what I can see, there's no way to get behind it. As we walk along the inner edge of the outer wall, we come upon these stairs that lead to a sniper area, and it gives us a big view of the whole map. In Killzone 2, the steps are a little bit different, but you go up them, and once again, you have a huge view of the entire area. And that's all I had to show you today. As I mentioned, I've done other similar map comparison videos for Killzone before. You'll see some of them on the screen in front of you, and I'll put links to all of them in the description of this video. Have a great day, everybody.